after what had felt like the longest drive in history. Though perhaps that was something to do with the fact my dad had done nothing but rant the whole time since the moment I had mentioned the whole Miles and Morgan situation. We had arrived safely at the gates of Autumn Valley Pack, heading toward I felt terrible arriving at that time, wishing we had found a hotel nearby to stay, rather than turning up at the Pack now. But my dad was adamant somebody would be up. Not to mention Luna Aiden had said any time would be fine. The guard at the gate had greeted us cheerfully, considering the ungodly hour. And he had said he had been expecting me. So at least Luna Eden hadn't forgotten about my arrival. He allowed me through the gate with no issues, giving me directions to the pack house, telling me that someone would meet me there. So I assumed Luna Aiden would find me there. She did say she would be giving me a room in the pack house for the first few weeks, possibly, until a home was arranged. But I was fine with that. Their pack house was lovely, from what I recall. Their whole pack was. So, welcome to your new home, Bailey, Dad said to me with a smile as he looked out of the windows at the pack we passed, despite it being pitch black outside. Only while I work here, I said with a shrug, knowing that because I was not finding a mate, or officially leaving my home pack, the Lotus Shadow Pack would always remain my home. Here would remain my temporary home whilst I was working. Though, with things as they were back at Lotus Shadow, and the current situation with Miles, I think visits back there would be few and far between. I could only imagine his response when he discovered I had planned my escape without his or his father's permission. But I had no intention of returning. I would beg for refuge here if needed, if Miles came demanding my return. Still, you are away from Lotus Shadow and from Miles, he told me. Do you think you will be able to get him dealt with properly? I can't help but question, as this doubt is so frequently popping up within my mind. I will do all I can to ensure it, Bailey. So will your brother and Ellis, he says with a somber smile as the pack house comes into view. Quite the sight, even in the dark. And I hope your uncle will be backing that too when he hears everything we tell him. I find myself sighing at his words. I wasn't too hopeful, in all honesty, at my uncle's response. I didn't have the greatest faith in how he would react, nor in how he would deal with it. He had allowed Miles to get away with far too much for far too long, and that worried me, that this would be no different. Oh, wonderful. My dad chuckled to himself as we pulled onto the parking area outside the pack house, making me look across at him, wondering if he was losing his mind. It looks like the cheerful one is here. I looked at him with serious confusion. What? Do you not remember from the party? He said with a smirk. And it was just as I said that my eyes settled upon the tall, dark-haired man leaning upon the walls of the pack house, all dressed in black. If it wasn't for the delicate outdoor lighting and my car lights, I would have missed him. More like a vampire than a werewolf, this one. Yep, I remember, I said with a roll of my eyes. How can I forget? A real grumpy fucker. How lucky we were that it was him meeting us. I thought it would be Luna Aiden. I am beginning to wish more than ever it was anyone but this grumpy bastard. I stopped the car, and as I did, the moody vampire man moved down the pack house steps to meet me by my car. You arrived then? He stated as I stepped from my car, his voice sounding far from welcoming. Nothing like stating the obvious was there. Looks like it, I said with a smile, trying hard to be polite. You not heard of the daytime hours? He asked with a hint of sarcasm. Though I am unsure if that was an attempt at humor or if he was pissed off that he was having to meet me at this time of night. My dad stepped from the car now too. Sorry, Beta Asher. That was my fault. Got held up before we left, though your lovely Luna did say anytime. Seemed awfully keen to have our Bailey here to work as soon as possible. I saw the face of the Beta contort in what I can only assume was irritation at my dad's words, while I was trying hard not to smirk. You brought your father with you too? Not able to travel alone? Or are you still scared of the dark? He asked with a smirk of his own, making me want to slap the smirk right off his face. Beta Asher, I would ask if you got out of the wrong side of your bed, but looking at your face, I am not sure whether you have been to bed. So, what is with the attitude? My dad demands, making me wish the ground would swallow me up whole. Beta Asher turned to look at my dad with a dark stare, evidently not appreciating the fact he had spoken to him that way. Though my dad truly would not care, and the big smile on his face made that clear. I do not have an attitude, Beta Asher says, grumpily. Just don't understand why you chose to arrive at an ungodly hour, and why she chose to bring her daddy with her. I feel Akira rippling beneath my skin now at the attitude of the man in front of us. Bite him. Cheeky fucker. She snarls. Beta or no, he is an ass. Akira, leave it. He is our new boss. Along with the Alpha and Luna, I warned her. Still, it wouldn't hurt him to be nicer. She tells me, well, if there was an issue, perhaps your Luna should have communicated that a little clearer. I am not a mind reader, Beta, I said to him, giving him a dark stare. And as I did, his big green eyes looked at me. I saw a glint of humor there, I'm sure of it, as he raised his eyebrows at me. He says, but his eyes are regarding me with curiosity. Let me take you to your room. Luna Eden has allocated you a room in the pack house, I am afraid, Miss West. Until a house has been prepared for you at least. That is what happens when you demand a position at such short notice, he says bluntly, and once again I find myself a little irritated, but fight back the urge to be rude. Thank you. As we had been talking, my father had been taking the bags from the car, so I pick up a few, as does he, and we followed the Beta through the doors of the pack house. I will find you a room, also Beta Donovan, Beta Asher says to my dad with an almost dirty look in his direction, like him being here was such an inconvenience. Evidently, socializing and being welcoming were not this guy's strong points. If it is going to be a problem, I could find a motel, my dad said, giving Beta Asher the same dirty look back. Geez, this was not awkward much. And the two of you couldn't have just done that until a decent hour before coming here? Beta Asher asked, as he signaled to the nearby staircase. I rolled my eyes once more at his lack of people skills. You mean this isn't a motel? My dad said with a sarcastic smile, and I held back the smirk that was threatening, because right about now, Beta Asher looks like he wants to drop kick my dad down the stairs, and probably right out of his pack house. This wasn't going too well so far. Do you know what day I am due to start at the school? I asked the Beta, hoping a change in the subject may help the awkward and uncomfortable atmosphere, and may improve the situation. Beta Asher looked across at me as we walked up the stairs. Did someone tell you I was in charge of you? He asks coldly. Because last time I checked, I don't believe I was. Luna Eden employed you. So, I haven't got a clue. Wow. I didn't know what to say or where to look now. Did he realize how rude he came across when he spoke? Did he even care? Stick your foot out, Akira grumbled within my mind, getting tired now, as I was. He might fall down the stairs. Imagine the fun watching that big lump falling all the way down the stairs. She chuckled to herself, and I couldn't help but smile to myself at her words. Something you find amusing, Miss West? Beta Asher asked me, looking over at me with curiosity. Well, it most certainly isn't you, I said sarcastically, and again I saw that slight glint within his eyes, as I heard my dad chuckling behind me. That is it, Bailey. You get the fucker told. My dad mind-linked me, making me smile. Oh, I intended to. I keep finding my eyes falling on the girl that has suddenly appeared within our pack. Damn, was she irritating. Keeping me waiting until a ridiculous time at night to allow her into the pack, to allow her in, and then bringing her daddy with her to argue for her. But there is something different about her. Gone was the shy girl I recall from the party that my uncle had introduced me to. Not that I was paying a huge amount of attention to her back then either. I was in more of a rush to get away, much as I am now, to be fair, but she seems different now. I am sure of it. This young thing seems to be giving as good as she gets. And even more strange is that Zion seems to like the cheekiness that occasionally comes out within her occasional sarcasm. It makes him chuckle. He doesn't do that very often anymore. Though, in truth, she should be showing me respect considering the fact I am to be her new beta. One of her new bosses. But I would allow her a little leeway considering the late hour, and the fact she had just driven halfway across the country to get here. Here is your room, Miss West. It is one of the few we have with an en-suite. Our pack house is a little different to most packs. We do not usually use it for living in, as we have a pack that has a wide range of homes capable of homing all our pack members. So we purely use the pack house for business needs and pack needs, I explained to her. And I saw her watching me, taking in all I'm telling her with interest, as I opened the door for her. Though I cannot help but notice those big brown eyes of hers are looking awfully sleepy. Not that it surprises me, considering the time. I truly do not understand the late arrival, but I have mentioned it, and still not received a reasonable explanation from them, nor Eden, so it seems nobody seemed willing to justify their stupidity. Thank you, she says with a smile. Her dad was standing, leaning on the wall observing me too, and he was a mean-looking fucker. I have heard plenty of her dad over the years. He is a ruthless beta known across the country, and I can only imagine he didn't like the way I had spoken to his daughter. Oh well, not my concern. It isn't like he will be living here with her. He had a pack to assist with running across the country, so he would be rushing back there soon enough. And I am sure his precious little girl would get over the fact I had snapped at her a few times. She had best get used to it. That is just what I do. Go get yourself settled. Get some sleep. You look like you could do with a decent sleep. Luna Aiden will come and find you in the morning and speak you through your duties and welcome you to pack properly, seeing that I have done such a terrible job, I said with a sarcastic smile, having noticed their many glances at one another, no doubt in disgust at my friendly demeanor. I never said I would be pleased to see them. The girl smiles and nods as she drops some of the bags on the floor, and her father passes her the remaining ones he had carried. I looked at her father, trying to decide which room would be best for him. Nothing like insulting the poor girl is there, Beta Donovan said with a chuckle, smirking at me. I looked at him in confusion and simply shook my head, not sure what he was implying, and in all honesty, not caring either if I had insulted her. I am sure she will get over it. Telling her she looks rough as fuck and needs to get some sleep, he said with a shrug. I did not say that. I defended myself, causing him to laugh loudly like he was so proud of himself for embarrassing me. I definitely did not say that. I am sure of it. As close as... He winked at his daughter, evidently teasing, making me want to punch the old man right on his bloody nose, trying to stir shit. I simply said she looked tired and should try getting some sleep. Was that me being insulting? I thought it was me being considerate. Evidently, I misread that. Ah, well, what is done is done. Right. Beta Donovan, follow me. I will sort you a room. I assume it is just for the night? I said, deciding to change the topic of conversation and escape the pair of them as quickly as I could. Considering the service here, I would think so, he says with a wry chuckle. Definitely not 5 stars, is it? Clearly, this guy thought himself quite the joker. Unlucky for him, I didn't have much of a sense of humor left anymore, so I wasn't going to find him funny, no matter how many jokes he may try and crack. Fine, I said, moving along the corridor, grabbing some bedding from the laundry cupboard as I went. The sooner I got him settled in his room, I could get myself to bed too. Then, tomorrow, Aiden could deal with her new guests. I would have little to do with them, the way I preferred. I do not like new people. Well, in truth, I did not like people in general anymore. I literally came to make sure she got here safely. I have let her down lately in that regard. Don't judge her for that, he says quietly as he walks behind me, as if he suddenly decided he needed to explain his presence, making me wonder exactly what had been going on in their pack. This sudden need to take the position and come here arriving in the middle of the night, and now the words of her father all made me question if there was more to this young she-wolf than we realized. I had asked Caleb and Aiden to be careful when they had interviewed her, so we knew who exactly we were allowing into our pack. But this girl seemed to be holding secrets, and I did not like that. Not one little bit. Should I be concerned? I asked him without even turning back to look at him. Of my daughter? He questioned. No, she is no risk to you nor your pack. It is me that needs to be concerned, I think, he said as I turned to unlock the door of the room I was giving him for the night. And his words only confused me further. Why would he be concerned? Was his daughter in some sort of trouble? Because as much as he may say, we are not at risk from her, surely if she was in some sort of trouble, or if she was on the run, then could that not potentially bring trouble to our door? Because that was a risk we did not want to be taking. The happy beta left me in what was to be my new room to get settled, and wandered off with my dad at his heels, giving him a hard time it sounded like. I am sure by the time he had allocated him a room, he would be ready to throw my dad from the stairway, because he truly seemed to be enjoying riling the beta up. Though his miserable face did seem to have forgotten what a smile actually was, so my dad likely saw that as a challenge. I threw my bags down in the corner of the room with the intention of sorting through them tomorrow, as my eyes were already beginning to droop. The late drive had been far from ideal, but I was finally here now. My fresh start could begin. I just dreaded what the outcome would be when Miles discovered I was gone. But I planned to speak to Luna Eden tomorrow and explain my predicament, asking that they give me some form of protection at least. If not, at least I would have given them a heads up of any potential trouble from Miles if he decided to come here to cause issues, which I could only hope he wouldn't. But for now, it was time to sleep. Because, just as the cheerful ball of sunshine of a beta had so kindly pointed out, I looked knackered, and I needed some decent sleep, and that was exactly what I planned to do, as soon as I had got myself washed and sorted. The following morning, I was awoken by a hammering at my bedroom door. I rubbed my eyes to try to waken myself, wondering momentarily where the hell I was, then remembered the new pack, and instantly felt brighter. I will be seeing the Luna today and being shown around my new home. The knocking at the door was relentless, and I couldn't help but wonder if it was my dad coming to find me to say goodbye. I quickly slipped from the comfortable refine of the bed and plodded over to the door. Opening the door sleepily, I was shocked to see the beta from last night standing there, looking just as cheerful as he did last night. What the hell did he want? I simply looked at him through half-dead eyes, truly lost for words. Shut the door, Akira grumbled. He is bad enough when we are awake, let alone half asleep. Oh, I am sorry. Did I wake you? Beta Asher said. I would like to say politely, but I'm certain there was sarcasm in his tone. Akira's suggestion of shutting the door on him was becoming more tempting by the minute, I have to admit. What gave you that idea? I replied, not even trying to hide my sarcasm. And this time, he actually did smile. Though it was the tiniest smile, but I am certain his face might crack if he smiled properly. What was that? Akira chuckled. Did he malfunction, or is he having a stroke? I swear he almost smiled. I really have to fight the smile forming on my lips. because I do not want to be explaining to him why I am smiling, as he looks at me with curiosity. I can't imagine I was the best of sights, in small black jersey shorts, and a gray tank top that I wore to bed, and my long, dark hair in disarray. I likely looked like I had been dragged through a hedge backwards. But in all honesty, I didn't care what the cheery beta thought of me. If he didn't want to see me in a mess, he shouldn't turn up at my door when he likely knew I would be in bed. Fool. Well, perhaps you would like to sort yourself out and make yourself more presentable, and I will take you down for breakfast, Miss West, he said curtly. Make myself more presentable? Wow, this guy keeps coming with the insults. I know I look rough, but I had literally just woken up. Besides, why is he taking me for breakfast? I thought Luna Aiden was spending the day with me. I could feel my face frowning in confusion without even intending to, and he raised his eyebrows at me as if in distaste. This man seemed to have a whole range of facial expressions displaying pissed off and angry emotions. He would definitely regret that when he was older and left with some serious frown lines. Oh, that idea not up to your liking? He says with a dirty look. No, but he is definitely not up to my liking, Akira mutters as she lays curled up within my mind, trying to settle. I believe I am meant to be seeing Luna Aiden today, I suggested, hoping that might remind him of the plans he told me of last night. He laughs, and it is quite a dry, sarcastic laugh, making me scowl at him. Oh, you think I decided to wake up and think a wonderful way to start my day would be to escort the new girl to breakfast? Sorry to disappoint you, Miss West. It ain't my sort of thing. I do have better things to do with my time, you know? Luna Eden is struggling with the latter stages of pregnancy and is quite unwell today. Alpha Caleb has had to take her to the PAC hospital to be checked over, so I have been allocated to take over your induction. Is that an issue? My heart drops at his words. He makes me out to be desperate to spend time with him, like he believed I had thought he had chosen to come and take me for breakfast. Damn, I can't imagine this jolly fucker would want to have breakfast with anyone, perhaps Satan. Going off the look in his eyes, I imagine they would get on well. But his words make me feel like I have thought the wrong thing about expecting Luna Aiden here, when that was what he told me was happening, only last night. And then he made me feel like an inconvenience too. Like I actually wanted this. He was going to be infuriating. Never too late to close the door on him, Akira muttered sleepily, telling me she had chosen to give up listening to him now. Wish I could take the same option. No, not an issue. Just different to what you had told me was happening last night, I said with a forced smile, trying so hard to be polite. Oh, I thought as a teacher you would be able to cope with the unexpected. Are you going to sort yourself out then? That way I can show you to the dining hall before they stop serving breakfast. I could do with a coffee, he says sharply. Too fucking right he could. Akira chuckled. By the bucket load. I ignored my wolf's snarky comments, though, in all fairness, she wasn't wrong. He seemed to have missed a fair few coffees, considering his mood. But how he expected me to get sorted with him standing there, I do not know. I gave him a short glance. Well, I won't be getting ready with you standing there, will I? You are able to close the door, you know? It is quite a clever invention. Once you open it, you are able to close it again, he says. And again, I am sure that little twinkle of amusement resides within those green eyes of his at his word. But I shall wait over there. He signals to the edge of the staircase, so I nod, closing the door. Already dreading spending the day with the strange man, I now have the pleasure of calling my new beta. My stay with my mate had been shorter than I had intended, and my mind had not been as on her as much I would have liked. As terrible as it may sound, my mind has been on my sister for a great portion of the time. The conversation we had had before I left had been replaying within my mind. The things I had learned tortured me. How can we not have known the pain she was in? All of us had failed Bailey as a family, yet she never once complained. Not only that, I had put my friend first far too many times. Like so many others in the pack did, as the upcoming alpha, it was an easy mistake to make. He knew the control he had. I should have known better, but I had looked up to my best friend. Saw him as quite the lad. The womanizer. Never realizing that in the things he was doing, he was hurting my sister. They seemed such an unlikely pairing. Tales of mate bonds always seem to suggest that mate bonds of fated mates are with couples that are well matched. Perfect couples. But with Miles and Bailey, they were far from that. Miles had found Bailey an irritation since she began high school. Looking back, it was likely because she was more intelligent than him, not that that was difficult. But she made him feel stupid, I guess. And even when he tried to belittle her, she seemed to have a way with words that made him look like the fool. So he turned to vile words, bullying words to attempt to break her. And looking back, I know now that it was nasty. I was a terrible brother. But Miles was my best friend. He and I were due to be the next alpha and beta. We were meant to be close. Like brothers. So stupidly, I allowed my loyalty to lie with him. And it had done until I learned of this. And that only got worse when I spoke to my dad. The shock at the things I had learned was overbearing. How could I not have known that this was the Miles I had grown up alongside? Hearing that Miles would hurt one of our own pack altered the way I looked at him. Hurting that warrior because of the things he knew, and the fact he was close to Bailey, was not right, no matter how he may want to twist it. And it made me concerned about the state of mind Miles was in. But deep down, I know that it is the power of his role as the upcoming alpha that has gone to his head. I've heard him speak of the things he planned to do as alpha many times, and he saw himself in that role as an almost godlike figure. He saw himself as untouchable as the next alpha. Too powerful, and that made him dangerous. When Dad told me that Bailey had found a job and had finally got away, I was relieved. She needed to. But I knew that the difficult thing was what was to come after that. Dealing with Miles and ensuring he stayed away from her. Because I am not so sure that our current alpha and my uncle would believe his son was capable of all the things we were saying he was. And if he didn't take our word for it, then we were going to have a fight upon our hands. But it was a fight we were willing to battle out. This needed dealing with. Hey, handsome. Gia wrapped her arms around my waist, the scent of her filling my senses and instantly soothing me and my wolf. Being with my mate was truly wonderful, and I cannot believe I had ever coped without her. She has filled a void within my life, so much so that I cannot contemplate being without her now. So, that in itself has made me find it hard to understand how Miles could ever have considered rejecting the mate fate had chosen for him. The draw to her was so powerful, the need for her overpowering. I turned to look at the beautiful girl I was able to call mine and smiled. Hey, you! We all sorted to go? I asked, knowing my dad would be expecting us soon. I had told him we would collect him from my sister's new pack, which had allowed him to travel there with her to ensure she had arrived safely. Yes, it meant my stay with Gia in her pack was shortened. But in truth, with everything that was happening within my pack, I was needed there now. I needed to step up for both my family and my pack now. And, thankfully, Gia had understood. Everything is sorted. I have said my goodbyes. She kissed my shoulder softly. Are you ready for the troubles ahead? She asked, sensing my worries. I am not sure, baby. This is not going to be easy. Miles is not going to take this lying down. I explained to her, but she knows all of this. I had not held back in confiding everything to her. She is my mate, and I have held nothing back from her, and she has been a wonderful listener and a wonderful support. I wanted her to understand the situation she would be arriving into when we arrived, so she was not shocked by it, especially if I was suddenly not to become Beta, as I knew there stood a big possibility of that, if Miles was to have his title taken away from him. We will take things as they come. She reached for my hand and squeezed it reassuringly, resting her head upon my shoulder. Now, had we best not get on the road? I think your dad will be waiting for us. Will he not? Yes, he likely will. Though it will give him another opportunity to chat to his friend, the former Alpha, there, so I doubt he will have any complaints, or he will be spending some time with Bailey, I told her as we left the room we had been staying in and moved toward the stairs, our things already having been placed in the car. This was going to be a long day, one I am not entirely sure that I was ready for, but I knew these coming weeks were going to be a challenge I needed to face, and hopefully I could prove myself as both a leader for my family and as an upcoming Beta, so that even if Miles does have his title taken away, I may still be considered for mine. I stood waiting for the new girl for quite some time. As time was passing, my irritation was beginning to build. I mean, how long does it take to get ready? I paced the landing. I stood waiting. I got bored. All until she emerged from her room, looking somewhat more alive than she had when she opened her door to me earlier. She looked a whole lot different, in fact. Her long dark hair was now neatly twisted back into a long braid down her back, with a few loose strands curled by the sides of her face. A face that I was almost certain had makeup on now too. Her big brown eyes were framed by long lashes, and those big brown eyes were glaring at me, something chronic right now. I think I may have not made the best of impressions on this one. All sorted? I said with a smile as she approached me. Well, do I look like I'm still in my PJs? She smirks back, and straight away, I'm ready to turn around and walk back to my office. I was not ready to deal with someone who was going to be clever with me. I had tried to be friendly, and I think it was safe to say, it just wasn't for me. Oh, please do stay and let her be clever with you. Zion chuckled, and I could sense his amusement at her sarcasm. She is funny, well, because you took so long. I am not sure that there will be all that much left for breakfast, but let me show you where the dining hall is. There is always the option of using it, though a lot of families tend to use their own homes, I explained as we walked down the stairs. She followed without much of a response. Today she was dressed in black jeans and a simple white tank top, red Converse upon her feet. Evidently, she was going for the casual look. Though I guess she wasn't starting her teaching job as of yet, so there was no need for a more professional look. We walked into the dining hall, a place I generally avoided at all costs, because it was always far too loud and far too busy. Too many people and too much hassle. But I had been put in charge of this girl's induction, so I was going to do it to the best of my ability, because if I didn't, then Aiden would never shut up about it, and quite honestly, that woman could complain until you felt like your ears would bleed if you didn't do things the way she thought they should be done, and I did not need to be dealing with that. The dining hall was oddly still quite busy, and many curious faces turned to look in our direction as we walked in, and I had a few pack members waving in my direction as they saw me walk in. I nodded politely, quickly looking down because I knew the moment they made eye contact, I would be dragged into conversation, and that was the last thing I wanted. Some of this lot could talk forever. Well, Miss West, this is the dining hall, as you can probably tell. I tried to be amusing, but she looked at me like I was stupid, so evidently my humor failed again. So, I simply continued. The food is set up along here. I pointed to the serving area, before pointing to the area where the drinks are, and drinks there. You simply line up, wait to be served, or help yourself if no omegas are there to help. Okay. Thanks. She nods at me with a polite smile. So, if you would like to grab yourself some breakfast, Go right ahead, because I plan to go and grab a coffee, I explained, moving toward the wall where the coffee machines are located, desperately in need of another coffee, despite the fact I had already had multiple since I had got up this morning. Coffee was the one thing I needed to help me function, especially with so little sleep. As I fiddled with the machine, setting it up to make my coffee, and turned to grab a mug, I realized the girl was still behind me. Did she think I expected her to stay with me? I really hoped she didn't. I wanted my coffee in peace. You can help yourself to breakfast. You don't have to stay with me, you know, I said to her, maybe being a little blunt. But I like my space. Is there a crime in that? It is bad enough I have to be here with all these people. She raised her brow at me almost critically. Yes, I heard you. And I am not really one for eating breakfast. I would like a coffee. Or would you rather me wait until you have finished making yours before I come over? I can hear Zion chuckling in my mind. He seems to like this girl and her lack of filter with me. Though I suppose all she is doing is giving it as good as she gets back, because I haven't exactly been the best with her. I chose to ignore him because now he too is pissing me off. But he is the one person I cannot escape from, since we are almost the same fucking person. Damn wolf. How did she manage to make me feel bad? No, it is fine. Do you need me to show you how to use the machine? I asked, trying to be kinder. I'm sure I can work out how to use the coffee machine, thanks Beta Asher, she says sharply as I pick up my coffee, throwing my kindness back in my face. Bailey, a voice calls from across the dining hall, and I look up just as she does to see her dad arriving with the former alpha. Fucking marvelous. Dealing with him last night was bad enough, let alone with my bloody uncle thrown in for good measure. Dad, I wondered where you are. I thought you might have come to meet me this morning, she greeted him with a beaming smile. So bright, her whole face lit up. Those big brown eyes almost twinkled. It was a smile so big. Clearly she was pleased to see her dad. A smile I most certainly was not honored with when she saw me. I am glad I found you. Your brother will be here any time to take me home. So, I wanted to say goodbye, he told her, and I see her face fall, and a small part of me feels bad for her. She looks quite scared even at the prospect of her father leaving her. But then, at the same time, a part of me is trying hard not to be harsh and thinks, this is what she had chosen to do, was it not? It was time for this little girl to grow up and be a big girl. Join the grown-ups if she plans to stay in our pack. I sat and waited in my office for the new girl, while she waved her father off. I could not be bothered dealing with tears, nor with her irritating father, in all honesty. My uncle had mentioned that the upcoming beta from their pack was coming to collect his father, so there was no way in hell I planned to hang around in case the young guy was anything like his dad. Spending time with his dad had been taxing enough. I did not need to be forced to spend time with two of them. The older version and the younger version. Fuck that. So, I had told the new girl how to find my office and to come and find me when she was done. Give her some privacy to say her goodbyes, and then I would continue this induction before leaving her to her own devices. The sooner the better, in my opinion, for I had things to do, and having to act as a friendly host was hurting my head. Friendly host? Zion chuckled, like he found my thoughts highly amusing. Did I blink and miss that bit piss off? I warned him. Or I will block you out too. Like you do half of the pack? He pushed. Why the hell I got a wolf with an attitude I don't know. Though Caleb says he kind of reminds him of me when I was younger. But I don't know what he is talking about. I was nothing like that. I lifted my coffee mug off the table and focused my eyes on the papers in front of me, just as my office door opened. I looked up with a scowl. So, the new girl thought she was able to just wander into my office because I said she could come and find me here? She never heard of knocking? Think she's got some learning to do. Just as I was about to get her told, My uncle strides into the office, that annoying smile upon his face. Asher, there you are," he says, sounding far too cheerful for a morning. Though where the hell else he expected me to be, I have no clue. Not like I'd be on the beach with a cocktail, is it? The new girl steps in behind him, looking more than a little awkward, and rightly so, just coming in here like this. "Not sure where else you would expect me to be, Uncle," I said with a roll of my eyes. Well, not leaving the young girl to find her way back might have been the gentlemanly thing to do, you know? But then I don't suppose you are a gentleman, are you? Or you have forgotten how to be. I had to help poor Bailey find her way here, he tells me, almost angrily, like I was the worst host ever. Talking down to me like I was a naughty little schoolboy. Had he not worked it out? I didn't want to be doing this. Well, I gave her directions, I said with a shrug, completely disregarding my uncle's telling off. I had simply been expecting her and her wolf to have been able to find their way here between them. Evidently not. And that was not my fault. My uncle shook his head at me and gave me a disgusted look. "I swear your mother had to have dropped you on your head, boy. She has just moved here, so she doesn't know the pack. You are meant to be showing her around." Plus, she was upset because she had just said goodbye to her father and brother. Use that little pea inside of your head that you call a brain for something other than thinking up ways of being an ass. I felt anger bubbling, but I know I can do little about it when it is my uncle causing it. He's the former alpha after all. I have been taught to respect him, but goddess help me, does he irritate the crap out of me sometimes? I don't see how I did anything wrong. She said she would be fine, so I took her at her word. If she suddenly realized she wasn't, that was not my fault. I may be a bubbling pot of fury right now, but Zion, however, could not be more chilled. He was once again chuckling, this time at my uncle giving me a hard time. Seriously, I need a new wolf, one that actually shows some loyalty to me, not that laughs at everyone giving me shit. I apologize when Miss West said she would be okay. I assumed she would be, I said with a dark glance in her direction. But she was now avoiding my gaze. But even from that momentary look, I could see there were tears upon her face. Heaven knows why. It wasn't like she was leaving them forever. They were a phone call away. She wasn't going to war, though I think I would rather go to war than work with kids. Well, try and find the gentleman within you, Asher, if he is still even there, and be nice. Bailey has had a difficult day. She is a little upset because it is never easy having to say goodbye. So go complete the induction, show her around our beautiful pack, all of it, and maybe even take her to dinner. Welcome her to our pack properly. We are lucky to have her here, so make sure she knows we appreciate her being here, my uncle says with a smile upon his face, like he believed he had just come up with the most wonderful of ideas. Wait, what? Take her to fucking dinner? This was sounding more like a date than an induction now. I don't think so. I signed up to a brief induction to pack, not a full-on, top-of-the-range tour of the pack, with me as tour guide and dinner included. And as for being lucky to have her here, how did they know until she actually started teaching? She could well be a terrible teacher for all they knew. If my uncle wanted her to be treated like that, why the hell was he not doing it himself? But, in true uncle form, he walked out of my office, that irritating smile upon his face, humming that song he likes to himself, leaving me and the new girl alone. I looked across to her awkwardly. I hope she's not expecting all the things my uncle just mentioned, because she would be sorely disappointed. Oh, goddess. The happy one's face at the things his uncle and former alpha had suggested looked like he had suggested he allowed me to go and shit on his bed or something. Beta Asher was not exactly doing much to hide his displeasure at the suggestion, though I am quickly learning this man does not have many friendly facial expressions anyway. but the one currently upon his face looked like he wanted to go and attack his uncle, who, incidentally, had wandered out of the room, happily humming to himself, like he was extremely pleased with himself. Something told me he enjoyed irritating the beta. Not that it did me any favors, as it now left me alone with the big bundle of happiness, unsure what to do or what to say. And now the room was in a very awkward silence. In all honesty, I didn't particularly want to be spending that much time with the beta, so the things the former alpha had suggested sounded horrendous. But I remained with a neutral expression upon my face to be polite. Evidently not a skill Mr. Cheerful here had discovered. Beta Asher began, avoiding my gaze, looking anywhere he could within the room other than at me. How was this a fully grown man? He had no people skills. It is fine, I said sharply, instantly irritated by his actions. I do not expect any of that, I told him, knowing the thought evidently disgusted him. And, as I said, it didn't particularly fill me with pleasure either. I heard a big sigh of relief from the beta, while Akira was chuckling in my mind. Did he think we would want to spend time with him? She says. I don't think my brain could take it. Imagine all the happiness. She adds sarcastically, and she sure has a point. Once I have my induction, I think he will be one I avoid within the pack. Beta Asher began again, sounding both uncomfortable and awkward, but he seemed determined to explain himself. It is just that I have work to do as well as this induction, he says, with what I could only describe as an uncomfortable expression upon his face. Is he constipated, or is he trying to smile? Akira asked, and I had to bite my lip to stop myself smiling at her words. Either way, I don't believe a word of it. He is the beta, so he probably does have work to do, I told her. If he is as good as he so clearly believes he is, and acts like he is, then a break to give you your induction wouldn't affect his work, Akira says with a chuckle. She seemed to find the behavior of this new beta quite amusing, to say the least. I, however, find him quite irritating. I can wait for the induction until Luna Eden is better if that would be easier for you. Less of an inconvenience to you, I told him, standing awkwardly by the door. He stood up quickly from his desk, making me step back a little. Did I say this was an inconvenience? He snapped. Okay. I seem to have angered the beast. Akira growled within my mind at his temper. She wasn't finding him quite so amusing now. My heart was pounding, and I felt a little intimidated by this grumpy fucker in front of me. I took a deep breath. It isn't always what you say, Beta Asher. Sometimes actions speak louder than words, I told him, my voice a little wobbly. And his actions since I had arrived had more than told me he would rather not be near me. I saw him taking me in as I stood anxiously by the door, and I am certain I saw his face drop at my words. Well, if that is the case, I apologize. Shall we go and begin this induction, Miss West? Because I wasn't actually lying when I said I had work to do after this. I have an increased workload while Luna Aiden is unwell. I felt bad now. He seemed genuinely sorry, and I obviously did not know he was taking on additional work, so his friend and the Pack Alpha could be there for his pregnant mate. Don't feel sorry for him. He will make you feel guilty, then be an ass again. Either that or he'll just eat you because you got on his nerves or looked at him the wrong way. Akira says with a weird little chuckle, like she found herself funny. Well, she would have to find herself funny, because right now I wasn't. You can call me Bailey, you know, I told him, having wondered why he kept calling me Miss West ever since my arrival. It was beginning to drive me crazy. It sounded far too formal, and I would rather make the situation feel less formal and more friendly. I will try to remember, he says curtly. I don't think this guy knows how to do friendly. Did Luna Aiden show you the school when you came for your interview? He asked, like he was trying to change the subject quickly. Briefly, I answered. We could go and look at the school properly if you wish. I imagine you would like to see where you will be working. I know I would. It is a lovely little school for the younger children, Beta Asher explained, and I am actually surprised he had thought of it in that way. But I had been desperate to get to the school and have a proper look around, see where my new workplace would be. So he had definitely not been wrong in his words. I smiled and nodded in response. Is Luna Eden okay, do you know? I asked. Just the baby causing issues. She struggles in the later stages. She did with their first two, though not quite this much. The doctor said perhaps because of her smaller build. It will all be worth it when their little one is here. But I don't think that helps her when she is finding the pregnancy difficult and suffering. She says she won't have any more, but she said that after Maddie, so I do not bank on that, he says as we walk through the pack house. His voice is quite calming when you listen to him talking. Animated and interesting, but when I find myself glancing across at him, there looks to be little or no emotion upon his face, nor within his eyes. Like he is dead inside. Saying our goodbyes to Bailey had been difficult, but leaving her there at Autumn Valley Pack had felt right. I knew she would be better there than she ever would be in our pack, and she seemed so positive about this new teaching role. This is what she had worked so hard for so long. She deserved it, and I hoped she would thrive now she had the job of her dreams. We just needed to do our part now and deal with the shit back in our pack. Ensure Miles got everything he deserved. The drive back across to pack had been long, and we were all ready to get some food, but had been determined not to stop and make the drive home as quickly as we could. There was far too much to deal with when we got home, and the thoughts of any delays in getting there were not ideal, so we had agreed it would be a direct journey. My dad seemed full of positivity about the things we had to do, so I could only hope his plans were possible. He immediately took to Gia, which made me happy. That is all I wanted, my family to accept my mate, and they had. I just hoped she would like our pack and settle in there when we finally had things sorted there. We were about half an hour from pack now, and Gia was snoozing lightly in the back of the car. You are happy now, son? My dad asked me, as he glanced across the car toward me as I drove. With my mate, yes. Everything else I want to sort out, Dad. There is so much unsettled, I told him, having waited until Gia actually settled to be able to talk to him, and I think my dad had waited for the same. It unnerves me. The things that have been going on and we had no clue. The things he has been capable of, and we didn't know. I understand, and I am the same. We can only do so much, though. We need your uncle to listen. If your uncle does not listen, we have the power of the Werewolf Council if needed. Your uncle will not want that. He will not want the risk of them in pack. No pack does, my dad tells me. But I still fear what the reaction of Miles is going to be when he learns of all of this happening behind his back. This is not just one thing. This is many things, by a number of people he considers close to him. Many betrayals by many people. He would be seriously angered. He and his wolf could go on a rampage if not handled properly. Not only that, he was yet to learn that Bailey had been brave enough to go against all the orders he had thrown at her and leave the pack without the permission of him or his dad. However, she did have the permission of our dad, who was the pack beta. And when Uncle hears the things that Miles has done, he will have to see why it was important for Bailey to leave. She was never going to be safe here. It never made sense to me that he rejected her, yet kept her here. A small part of me wonders if he still wanted her, or if he simply gained some sick pleasure from it all. What if he goes looking for Bailey, Dad? I asked him, because I know there is a strong chance that he may do. He seemed to see her as his possession, so there was a strong chance he might go to Autumn Valley, demanding her return. But I hoped Bailey would speak to the Alpha and allow them to protect her. But, knowing her, she was too shy and would not want to cause any problems for the pack and would not say anything. Likely terrified they would judge her for the situation that wasn't even her fault. I briefly explained the situation to the former alpha. He is aware. He said it would not be discussed, but if she needs help, she will have it. She will be safe there, my dad told me, taking me by surprise. He had gone behind Bailey's back to discuss this with his old friend, but I have to say, I am glad he did, if that meant my sister was safe. We had done a terrible job so far in keeping her safe. So she should be okay? I asked. I believe so, but we have another issue, which I was a little unsure of mentioning. Bailey overheard your sister on the phone with Miles. It would appear your friend is involved with Morgan in some way. My dad's words bounced around within my mind, trying to make sense. No, that cannot be right. Why would he be involved with my youngest sister? She had a mate out there. I knew she had always had a bit of a crush on Miles, but so had the majority of the younger she-wolves in the pack, so I thought nothing of it. I don't think it is uncommon for she-wolves in the pack to have a bit of a crush on their alpha, especially one as handsome as Miles. Though, I suppose, any given an opportunity would take it. But what didn't make sense to me was, after being fated to Bailey, why would Miles choose to pick Morgan to date? Were they even dating? No, just no. Are you sure? I snapped. My hands tightened around the steering wheel in anger. He was dangerous. He was not right for her. From what Bailey overheard, I think we need to speak to Morgan, he says with a sad smile. She will think it is wonderful, as would any of the she-wolves in the pack. Could this be in a bid to get at Bailey? I asked. I hate that it sounds almost critical towards Morgan, but it was the first thought that came to my mind. That Miles would use my youngest sister to get at Bailey, or to gain information on her to hurt her. That could be true, but you know Morgan will not be willing to hear that, and Morgan does not know of their situation. My dad tells me, as we pulled up at the pack gates, the guard waving at us as we did, to allow us through into the pack. You didn't tell her yet? I asked, unsure how this would go down. What about Mum? Not properly, Dad says, running his hand through his dark hair, now dappled with the occasional gray. I think having us as his kids was definitely taking its toll. I wanted to get Bailey away and then come back and deal with the rest. I can see his logic, but my mum would not be happy being kept in the dark. Today or the next few days was not going to be easy. But this was what was needed to move forward and put our pack on the right path again. Because with Miles as the planned next alpha with the person he had changed into, we were on a path into the fiery pits of hell. Of that I was certain. I turned onto our road, driving closer to our house, and as I did, I saw a familiar figure sitting on our porch steps. I looked across to my dad, instantly knowing this was not going to go as we had planned at all. I had managed to evade my father for most of the day. Hunting down the warrior who pissed me off has not gone my way, so I have a few people asking around for him. The hospital staff said he was discharged, which implies to me he recovered awfully quickly, so evidently I didn't do enough damage after all. So I think I may need to find him again. Someone to take my anger out on, because quite frankly, that is what is rippling through my body the majority of the time right now. Seeing Ellis in this sickly, loved-up state with his new mate is beyond sickening. Yes, his new mate is hot. A former cheerleader. Fucking whoopee-doo for Ellis. Once again, I don't get how that worked. He got this curvy, vivacious little lady who cannot do enough for him, giggling sweetly at everything he says, and I got fucking Bailey West with her out-of-control mane of curls, and her over-the-top brain power and intelligence. Ellis had been different in recent days since he caught me attacking the warrior. If anything, I would say he was avoiding me, and that irritated me. But then he had this new mate too, and no doubt they had things to be seeing to as well. That meant spending time with friends and family would most certainly be taking a back seat, much like Jordan, who had done a runner to the pack of his mate to get to know her better before bringing her back here to settle in. Both whipped by their little ladies, it would seem. Pathetic fuckers, I would much rather have the freedom of a single life, where I get to have my pick of any she-wolf I want. And then I can toss them to the side when I am bored with them. Morgan, however, was proving to be quite fun. She seemed so desperate to please me, so I had kept her around for longer than usual, though she had yet to give anything up to me properly yet. But the real reason I was using her was to gain information on the bitch of a sister of hers. Inside information, of course, because Jordan was fucking clueless as to what was going on within his sister's life or her mind. So, I decided to try getting to know Morgan, and it soon proved that she was more than willing to give up more than her time for me. Morgan was definitely the prettier of the two West sisters, and going from what I've experienced, the easiest too. Not that I had ever tried anything with Bailey, nor would I want to. The thought repulses me, but I knew that me spending time with her sister would get under her skin. And thankfully, Morgan had not questioned a thing. She was just simply desperate to please her alpha. It was upon one of our video calls, after I'd convinced Morgan to do a little striptease for me, that we were sitting chatting, and she briefly mentioned that she hadn't seen her sister since yesterday, which raised my suspicion. My anger began increasing as I felt my wolf jet pushing forward, desperate to go and look for her. That bitch was meant to stay within our packlands. I needed her here to maintain my strength. She may not be my mate after I rejected her, but a fated mate gave their fated one their strength, right? I needed her. Where is she then? I demanded. Not sure, Morgan said nonchalantly, like it was unimportant. Well, do you not think you should fucking check? I snapped, and her eyes shot to me on the screen, confused. Why are you so bothered? It is only Bailey, she argued, and I suddenly realized that she would be wondering about my overreaction. But I did not care. How can she not have seen her own sister since yesterday? They lived in the same house, for fuck's sake. Ask your dad. He has to know where she is, right? He keeps tabs on you all, right? Or mind link her, I told her. Not seen my dad, for that matter. But I will try mind linking if it means so much to you. She almost snarled at me through the video call, and I realized at this point the fact we had become closer had meant Morgan had become a little too confident, too cocky, and I did not like it. She would not be talking to me like that again. But something she said bothered me more right now. So she had not seen her dad either? Both her dad and Bailey had not been seen since yesterday? Jet snarled at that thought. Our very own Beta had betrayed our orders and helped his daughter to leave the pack, I believe yet. For some reason, I do not feel surprised. Well, if I found that to be the case, then he would live to regret it. I would make sure of it. There is no connection to the mind link, so I don't think they are in pack, Morgan says with an awkward smile. Can't we just carry on what we were doing? We were having fun, Miles, she said, fluttering her lashes at me seductively. Previously, that sight would turn me on, but right now, it simply irritated me. I needed to deal with the fuckwit of a dad of hers who thought it's acceptable to betray us, and the stupid bitch of a sister. And deal with them, I would. I would make sure of it. No, I don't think they are in pack. Which means I want answers, Morgan, I told her, and the little whore rolled her eyes at me, further irritating me. Look, Miles. You wanted my attention. You had it. Now you are here having a hissy fit over my sister? Want to tell me what that is all about? Morgan said, sounding more like the teenage girl Bailey had been when I rejected her. I smirked. Oh, did you forget your place there, did you, Morgan? Because if I am not mistaken, I never agreed to anything with you. And I am still the upcoming alpha. So fucking remember your place and do not talk to me like that. Your sister is a pack member who was told she should not leave the pack, and yet here we are. It appears she has left the pack with the help of your father, so yes, as the upcoming alpha, I would say I have every right to be pissed. If you don't like it, you know where the fuck off button is. And with that, I hung up. I would not have anything else to do with her. She was not worth my time nor my energy. I would not be spoken to like that by anybody. Jet was once more rippling beneath my skin. I was tempted to go for a run, let my wolf out, but I knew with the mood he was in, he would likely rip the place apart, so I pushed him back. I had something else I wanted to do. I walked out of my house and went to sit on their front porch. I knew Jordan was on his way home because he had texted to let me know, so I would wait and speak to him, demand answers from him, because without a doubt he had to have spoken to his dad. If I found my friend knew about this and had betrayed my trust too, then he would be made to pay too. I would wait for as long as it took until they got home. The longer I waited would mean the more time my anger had to simmer. But I was good with that. More anger meant more punishments for them. I would wait for as long as it took to deal with them. All of them, the way I see fit. I would not tolerate being undermined by some old fart who thinks he has the right to go against the decisions made by me. I would make him pay. As for Bailey, I would bring her back to the pack where she belonged, kicking and screaming if needs be. She was mine. She belonged to this pack. And whether she liked it or not, she would not be going anywhere. She had been fated to me, and I needed her. I did not want her. But I needed her, and she would not be going anywhere. Well, I had my detailed tour of the new school I would be working at, and who knew a tour could be quite so detailed? It seems Beta Asher is a sucker for the finer details, maybe a little OCD lingering under that mean and moody exterior, but still, I now knew every inch of the school in great detail, and I loved it. Now the two of us were walking through the packlands, while the happy one did his best at showing me around. Bless him. It was so obvious to me that he was not comfortable in the company of others, or maybe it was just in the company of me. But he looked so uneasy. I felt bad for him. "Do you want me to go back to my room?" I asked, looking up at him with a polite smile. "What? Why would I want to go to your room?" He almost choked on his words, and I had to try to stop myself laughing at him. Is that what he actually thought I was suggesting? What in all holy hell does he think we are proposing? Akira almost squealed within my mind, sounding truly horrified. And to be honest, I found it more amusing that he had misheard me, though I was a little insulted at how disgusted he looked. I wasn't that bad. "Wah, there, sailor. I think you need to get your hearing tested. I most definitely was not inviting you back to my room." "Oh, hell no." I grinned at him and saw his cheeks flushing with color at my words. I simply said, "Would you rather me go back to my room?" As in, alone. You know, meaning without you. He ran his hand through his hair uncomfortably and sighed. "Okay, don't make it worse than it was, haha." Worse for him, he means I quite like him looking uncomfortable. Make it worse. Say more. Make it worse, Akira urges, and once again I am trying hard not to smile. I bit my lip to prevent myself from saying anything, and looked ahead as we continued walking. I feel Beta Asher's eyes upon me, and I try so hard not to look at him, because I know the moment I do I will laugh, and with Akira's input, I don't think I would be able to stop. "You're trying not to laugh, aren't you?" he said with a little huff to his tone. "No? What gave you that idea?" I struggled to speak. "I can just tell. Not to mention the fact you are nearly eating your lip," he says. And again his eyes are still upon me, though I sense a little humor in his tone this time, and I slowly move my gaze to his, and I note a small smile upon his lips. "It was kind of funny," I whispered. No, it was embarrassing, Miss West, he says just as quietly. Will you please just call me Bailey? I asked him with a roll of my eyes. I am not your teacher, you know. And it doesn't need to be embarrassing. Just laugh it off. You know how to laugh, right? He suddenly stopped walking and gave me a sharp and dirty look, his eyebrows raised at me, like he did not quite believe I had asked him that. Shit, you pissed him off. Take it back. Take it back, Akira urges me, though I don't think he knows what laughing is. She adds with a giggle, Seriously? He asked. Of course I know how to laugh. I just don't find you funny. Ooh, oh roasted. Akira was giggling again. Well, excuse me. I do apologize for not being funny enough for you, Mr. Cheerful, I said with a smirk, and he shook his head at me as he began to walk again. Keep up, Miss West. I still have the rest of the pack to show to you, he said to me, with a glance back at me, his big green eyes looking straight at me. You don't want me to go back to my room? I asked, surprised, as he had said he had work to do. Yet he was taking his time showing me around what seemed like every inch of the pack. I believe I said I would do your induction, and I plan to do it properly, he said to me with a smile. And it has not been as bad as I thought. I chuckled. Ah, was that an attempt at a compliment there, Beta Asher? I would not go that far, Miss West. I simply said doing the induction was not as bad as I thought. I do not usually do them, but as I said earlier, I do have work to do, so speed up, he said to me with a nod. Because the pace you walk, I will still be doing this at Christmas. Wow, what a guy. Gone from what I thought was a compliment to insulting me. Truly remarkable. Dick. Oh, because I hurt your feelings. You are going to be mean to me now, I said sarcastically. Bad news for you is I am used to people doing that, so it won't work. He looked at me with a frown. What does that mean? Oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that. His tone did not sound impressed. I didn't expect him to pay attention to what I had said, or at least not ask questions. What do I do now? Oh, nothing major. I did my best to dismiss it, not wanting to be explaining to the man with no heart, nor a sense of humor, the stuff I dealt with growing up. He would likely think that was normal. No, I want to know what you meant, he says, and this time his voice sounds irritated. Is that why you had to come here so quickly? What? My heart was beginning to pound now. Where did that question come from? How was that even related to this conversation? And why did he need to know about my sudden need to come here quickly? I found it quite odd that you had to come here so suddenly. Usually processing a new job could take a few days to a few weeks, depending on the papers. Usually closer to weeks. Yet with you, we needed to have a space ready the next day, and for some reason, nobody could give me an answer as to why. So, perhaps, now you have said that, you will explain why. Beta Asher is watching me again, but now I feel myself feeling suddenly anxious. Was there a way to get out of this one? Because I truly do not feel comfortable telling this moody monster of a man anything.